And I always used to think that exams were actually a bit unfair on the students because it's not how you practice your skills in real life. You have to memorize everything. You have to go into the exam hall. It can be very stressful. What if you're just having a bad day or you're ill on that day? And all through my academic career, I've tried to avoid doing exams because
you prefer essays.
We'd really like to be evaluated in a naturalistic environment, and we don't want to put additional stress on everyone.
I agree.
And this used to work quite well, but unfortunately at the moment, if you put out an assignment, 5 years ago, all of the assignments that I would mark would look very different, and they would have individual personality, and some would be better and worse than others, and some would take completely different approaches and be creative.
Be creative.
But now they all have exactly the same personality because some of them are written by LLMs and some of them are checked and advised and proofread by LLMs. And even if they are not, people are writing now like LLMs. So you've seen this bullet point format. Every sentence starts with a bullet point. What we will talk about in this sentence, capitalized. And then there's a colon, and then there's a sentence that rehashes the same thing. So as soon as you see that in someone's writing, you know that either ChatGPT wrote it, or now increasingly, you know that maybe people are just adopting this bullet point style.
Yeah.
And if we think, why do we have this bullet point style? It's simply because that's the instructions that were given to the people who were creating that fine-tuning training data set.
The fine-tuning, the last level. I don't know if it's last or one of the levels.
The last level is the prompt that you give it.
Okay.
The question that you ask it. The level before that is the system prompt. Oh. So once you've done the fine-tuning initially, then now it listens to your instructions. Now it has manners. So you can ask it, say, politely, be very nice to the users and apologize if you make a mistake, and don't apologize too much.
Wow, man. And what does that mean? Are you telling me this is the end of man? Just kidding.
Well, it could be the end of humanity, for sure.
Yeah, the end of writing.
I think
the end of creative writing.
Definitely the end of the communication act as we know it.
The communication act as we know it's going to change.
So when I say something to you, you listen and you try and work out what's going on in my mind. That's a speech act. That's a communication act. It's a message from my brain to your brain. Because the two of us have grown up never having any speech come to us that's not from a human brain.
Yeah.
When we hear speech, we really value it. When we read text, we really value it. We can't help imagining what's going on in this person's mind. How do they feel? Because all of the messages that we receive are actually from people that we care about. If you think about all the phone calls or the messages that you've received with exciting life news, or friends or family are having problems and they need your help or they need your advice, or they're just calling you up because they've seen something funny and they want to express it to you. So whenever we received a message in the past, we immediately start up all of our social cognition and go, oh, this is what my friend is doing. This is what my friend is thinking. Imagine growing up in a world where most of the text that you read has no emotional content because it doesn't come from a mind.
Yeah. It comes from probability, stats, and coding.
So when Claude tells you something, there is nothing
that separates people,
inside Claude's mind at all. And I'm very concerned that having grown up with this, you might hear your friends talking and you just wouldn't bother because you're not used to the fact that language is a speech act from another person.
Yeah, that would disconnect. I'm thinking about this, the massive disconnect that would produce. It would produce less intimate relationships, I guess.
Well, there was a Guardian article last week. A woman was discussing the times that she'd been chatfished, or she'd received messages on
I haven't heard that term
from ChatGPT. So she went on. She had a discussion with someone for a few weeks on the app, and he seemed very caring. Was asking
which
her
app?
About her on. It was one of the dating apps.
One of the dating apps.
Tinder,
Okay.
Another one.
A dating app.
Check the Guardian article.
Yeah.
And when they actually met up, it was nothing like the messages. He couldn't carry on a conversation. He wasn't asking.
The guy was like,
and he kept checking his phone. Oh. So she realized that.
And she reports this. She realized the guy was using it.
Yeah. And then she talks about other incidents of the same thing. And one of the most recent ones was the initial opening message that she received on the app was, you have an effortlessly beautiful smile, which is not something that anyone would ever say. So that's something that if you know ChatGPT, it's exactly the kind of vague platitude that it would come out with.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. So I suppose it's just people that are trying to, meet someone, have fun, but they have zero skills. So I suppose they go by, they send like
They don't have zero
100.
skills. They have millions of years of evolved skills in how to meet other people. They just have anxiety about going out and doing it.
Oh, I see.
And that's a big thing in
Anxiety.
Anxiety. As we move into each new generation, anxiety goes up about 4 times.
Oh my God. So then, anyways, what I'm going with this is like people, instead of developing those skills, facing the anxiety and, they use ChatGPT and they send like 100 messages. And let's say 10 of them work and they start 10 conversations. And out of those 10, 5 of them and then 1 of them becomes a date. So out of the 100. So
and that's how I met your mother.
That will be a massive thing, right?
We see the same thing in marketing. Now that we have to send so many more emails.
And here's a question. How do we know that, well, I agree that this can get better and should get better. This ought to get better. But how do we know that we are not like fear-mongering? Because...
So this is back to what we were talking about originally. How do we know that we are not just being... old man yelling at clouds.
Exactly.
So we can look at search, for example. If this is right, then in a few years, AI will have had as little effect on our cognition as Google search did, and maybe Google search had
I'm sure there were people very afraid, because I mentioned Socrates because Socrates, there's some evidence that suggests that Socrates didn't want to write. He said, if you keep writing, you're going to forget all, it's bad for your memory, writing, he would say.
And even there are people who were against writing, against books, against trains, against the internet, against video games, and all of this. So are we...
And we love all these things in many ways.
All of these technologies before they were tools. They didn't do anything on their own. You needed to at least start them up, put something into them, ask for something in particular. So we're in a situation now where there's, I believe it was a care home, which is in legal trouble at the moment for submitting all of its annual reports to the regulator generated by AI.
Okay.
So now we're in a situation where really complex documents or knowledge artifacts or even pieces of code, even projects, we're in a situation where you can start a startup by just asking Claude.
I've heard.
But then you'll be in an enormous situation of technical debt and someone will have to come along and sort it out later. So in terms of capabilities, this is definitely different. Everything we were talking about before was a tool. The Gutenberg printing press, for example.
Yes.
You had to put some information into it. It just made things faster. But AI doesn't just make things faster. It makes people able to produce documents which they could not have before. And so it makes people able to claim that they have skills that they did not have before, and
like
to get hired for positions in which they are actually completely incompetent. So they don't have those skills.
Like Chomsky said, it's high-level plagiarism. At the beginning of that conversation, Chomsky said high-level plagiarism. And he's right in many ways, right?
And we do have to imagine that there are some further. We talked about uploading your brain, for instance.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would say that uploading your brain is just another version of old men yelling at clouds.
Yeah.
That would certainly be a technology that would incomparably change life.
Different category. So 2 things come to mind. The first is, do you think there is a proper way of using AI? That's one. And the other would be, some people I've seen that they try to compare it with the calculator. They say, it's just like, instead of doing the math, you use a calculator, but it would be like a calculator for words. What would you say about these two?
So we really need to distinguish between AI, the technology, and the particular companies or corporate entities which are
the applications,
the service at the moment.
Okay.
If you just think about the technology. So imagine that we all had ChatGPT installed on our computers and we could all use it for free. So you buy the computer, you get ChatGPT with it.
Okay.
You don't need to pay $2 every time you use ChatGPT.
And it doesn't take your data.
There is an enormous earning stream, and it doesn't take your data. So that's just the technology on its own.
Technology on its own.
I think that would be a lot more healthy than the situation that we're in now, because there would be no one telling you how to use the technology. It would be there if you needed it. You could explore yourself, but there wouldn't be anyone telling you how to use it. The fact that AI at the moment is a product.
It's a product.
And it's a product in an industry which is continually pushing for growth, which is trying to perpetuate the it may not be a bubble, but the enormous rises in stock value that we're seeing at the moment.
Like in an infinite loop of value production.
That means that products that are not necessarily needed or valuable are being pushed on us. We've got AI friends, for example, or AI partners.
Friend.com, you saw that one?
In the New York subway recently.
Yes.
And there was another great article in The Guardian this week. One
about
of the reporters
that?
actually tried it out. She wore it.
The actual pendant.
It creeped her out in multiple ways.